to Accelerate Your Wealth, a podcast by Rebecca Robertson, founder and director of Evolution Financial Planning. We hope you enjoy the show, and please feel free to leave us a review. It really does help. Feel free to connect with us on Facebook, LinkedIn and Instagram, or head over to www.rebeccarobertson.co.uk or our sponsor, Evolution Financial Planning, for regulated advice on www.evolutionfinancialplanning.co.uk/podcast.
Hey, and welcome back to this week's show. And this is part of a mini series on how to be your own wealth planner. And today we're talking about how to plan your money goals. So last week we talked about how to set your money goals. And this week we're going to talk about how to plan your money goals. So last week, we already now know what we want to achieve, and we know what we want to do by the end of, say, the year. So how does that break down? I'm sharing my screen with you again. However, those I understand are on the podcast, you may want to hop over to YouTube where you can see the visuals. So what we want to do now is, before we know exactly what we want to achieve. So I'm just squicking back a little bit. We had either a savings goal or a debt to clear or an investment goal. So we know what we want to achieve in either 12 months, medium term might be 5 years, or 10 years. It might be more thinking further ahead, like retirement, for example. Or it might be children's university, which is that much further. But that all of those break down into goals that we may be doing achieving on a monthly basis, because at the end of the day, a wealth plan is not a quick fix. This is not quick, selling some stuff on Amazon and making a quick buck, or trading on like the stock exchange, on forex trading and making a quick win. Financial wealth planning is much more about looking at your bigger picture and looking at your bigger goals and breaking it down and figuring out, okay, how can I make those bigger goals, those bigger things happen? Now, the money that you make, the income that you make, does play a part in that, because that feeds into that wealth plan completely. So what we're going to do is we know what the goal is. So that's what we covered last week. So if you haven't listened to that, go back. I'm not talking about revenue, which you can see if you're looking at the screen, you might be seeing some bits about revenue here. I'm not focusing on that for this series. It's more about being the planner, not the generator of income. Although this wealth later on, if you are creating a wealth plan that has a pot of money, that will generate revenue for you later on. So this is beginning of the month. So you want to be really clear each month exactly what it is that you want to be achieving. So what do you want to feel? What do you want to receive? What do you want to give? How do you want to feel in this month? Now we've got the very clear goal that we've achieved from before. And so you might be feeling that you want to raise your vibration that little bit more. You might want to feel that you want to receive a bonus at work. You might want to give back to charity in some way, or clear the loft and give all that to a local charity in some respects. We might want to sell it and make some more revenue. So it's just about thinking about, okay, what's the focus this month? What do I want to achieve by the end of the month? Now, that's all about the energy and the vibe, because sometimes we just focus on the pure figures. We can lose track on actually how it feels to achieve these objectives. So what I want you to think about is, okay, so I've got this big goal for, say, 12 months time. I'm going to use the amount of 50,000 as an example. Now, if we break down 50,000, I'm just going to grab my calculator so I can show you on the screen, those that are on YouTube or on video. Apologies, those that are on the listening podcast. I will obviously share what the figures are, but if I take 50,000 and I divide it down into 12 over 12 months, that's £4,166. Now, for the average person, 50,000 in 12 months is too much, right? That becomes too big of a leap, potentially for some people to earn an extra £4,000 a month. It might be a case of, okay, well, then we need to sort of adjust our time frame, or we need to break down the goals that a little bit more. So let's just say we say, okay, well, actually 40,000 of that is to buy a new house, for example. So I'm actually going to set 40,000 for over the next 3 years. So we're going to divide that by 3. 40,000 and then divide it by 12, and that would mean that person would need to put aside 1,100 a month over the next 3 years to achieve that 3-year goal of saving 40,000. So as you can see, it takes quite a lot each month. If you think that on a monthly basis, that's a lot of money. Let's just say that the other 10 grand of their 50 grand objective was to clear debt. So we're going to take the 10 grand, divide that by 12, and that's 833. Now that's still a lot of money to a lot of people, but it's still achievable for some that maybe haven't overextended themselves with a massive mortgage or a massive car loan and that kind of thing. They've maybe got a little bit of spare cash, but for some people they are living, hand to mouth, so they don't have spare £800 a month. So sometimes it's a case of, okay, well, we need to break that goal down again, and I need to spread that. It's not over 1 year, it's over maybe 5 years that we're going to clear this debt off. But what you end up in a situation of, particularly with debt, just to focus on that just for a moment, is you're trying to clear the debt, you don't have anything spare, and therefore how can you bring in extra revenue? And you end up robbing Peter to pay Paul and going around in circles. So you end up becoming a bit of a frugal budgeting master. And I don't really need to teach those people how to budget, because you're down to the penny as to where to buy the loo roll, where to buy the best pasta, etc. That's not my bag, that's not my game. But what I would say is that you still have to be very clear on the bigger picture and how you can break those things down. Because if you're on 0% interest rate on your credit cards, for example, well, when does that 0% run out? That should be your time frame to clear your debt down, and being super clear on what that time frame might be. So then you make a note in the diary. Okay, well, if I can't do that, just say it finishes in 8 months' time, I can't achieve that, then make a note in a diary for when that rate does come up, and therefore you can then do another balance transfer. But what's crucial is that you're not then getting in a situation where you're then reliant on credit cards, and then that debt is only getting bigger. There's 2 ways of doing that. There's sort of a bit of a saying, which is in financial services or in financial wealth planning in general, is that you have the revenue incoming stage, and then you have the accumulation stage. And you can't really accumulate wealth whilst you're not having the revenue. So I would go back to your income. Do you need to look at getting a pay rise, having a second job, whatever it takes, like improving your revenue stream in your business, having other products or other offerings, and working with a business coach to potentially, or career coach, to improve your revenue coming in, so that you have then more spare to clear those debts and achieve those objectives. So obviously I can't cover everything in this one little quick series, so I'm trying to there are other podcasts that you can go and listen to which can help on some of these subjects we've talked about already. Okay, so let's just say you have the £800 spare, but there's other things you want to do, right? There's other things you want to achieve, and you might be thinking that you want to go out more, and you want to see your friends more, or you want to go to the cinema. So it all comes back to budgeting, but in a not just the loo roll, the weekly shop kind of way, but actually how your other spending is being spent. So I don't see budgeting as a where you're going to buy the loo roll. What I see budgeting is more of a case of, okay, what is your other spending? What are you spending sort of unknown items on? So the only way to do that is to look back on what you've been spending. So we're in January as I'm recording this, so December's not the best time to be doing that, because you might have done a lot of your Christmas shopping. Ideally, if we're making a savings each month towards next Christmas, you can put that into a separate pot. It'll then mean that you're not having to, excuse me, I got hiccups. Then know that you're not having to wait until December, and then like you're clearing your bank account when you've got probably Christmas parties and other things to think about. So it's looking at your budgeting sort of much more bigger, wider picture. What have you got coming up that you need to put some money aside for? So it's 2 things when it comes to achieving these goals. It's being super realistic about things that are going to come up in the month. You can plan ahead for some of that for birthdays and holidays, and putting aside a reasonable amount, whether it's £100, £200, which is like your float money, that then means that you're not clearing yourself out. If you've got emergency money, that it means that you're not having to also then, if the tyre goes on your car or the washing machine breaks, you're not then having to again take it out of your core money, because it's in your float pot or emergency pot. So when it comes to achieving these bigger goals that you're looking to achieve, you do have to look at this detail and look back at your spending, where your ad hoc spending is, and where in the year you might have other sundry items or other things that might come up. And especially if you've got kids, there's constant. So we've got April, we've got the spring holidays, Easter holidays, summer, we've got the summer holidays. It's looking at the whole year ahead and saying, okay, what are my annualized costs and how can I break that down into a monthly allowance, so that I'm then not, okay, I'm going to put £20 aside, £30 aside, £50, £100 aside. And it's not that you can't afford it in those months. It just means that then you can start allocating your money on a monthly basis. So if I then said, right, you need to invest £1,000 a month for that bigger goal, or you need to start saving £800 a month towards that bigger goal, you can clearly know what you have got spare or you haven't. This is the most crucial thing when I'm talking to clients. If I ask them what their mortgage is, they know the answer. If I ask them what their general spending is each month, they know the answer. But then when I turn around and say, okay, well, to achieve your retirement goal or to achieve your investment goal, you need to be doing £1,000 a month, they're not sure if they can afford that or not, because they're not honestly on top of things. So being your own wealth planner, I can't do that for all clients all the time, but a big part of looking after your finances yourself is looking at where all the money's going. Because for some of my clients, they're earning quite well, but they get to the end of the year and they don't really know where their money's gone. And this is what I'm talking about. This key element is crucial. So giving your money a job, whether it's for, the summer holidays, for the Christmas party, for buying a new wardrobe for the summer, whether it's, the kids having a nice, like lots of trips out at their Easter time, putting a sort of float aside for all of those sort of sundry items and putting it in a separate account gives you the opportunity to monitor your money that much more closely. So that is how you start to plan your money goals, breaking down your budget, not just the general food shop, not just the general outgoings like the mortgage, etc. It's looking back on the previous months and being realistic and saying, okay, what is my actual budget? So what I'm sharing on my screen right now is the budget planner that's in my Wealth Accelerator planner that's available on Amazon. And it's a weekly, daily planner that allows you to break all this down and just monitor it on an ongoing basis. It does have this monthly budget planner in there, and it has a retrospect at the end of the month as well. I personally use a spreadsheet because I can update it, and I look at all my sundry items and I have a budget for all of my general expenditures. I have horses, so I have a budget for my horses each month, and for my kids, etc. So as a household, we do actually plan quite a lot and put aside quite a lot. So right now, if you said, what could you afford to invest or to achieve a certain goal, I know how much I'd have spare. So that is, in a nutshell, is how to plan your money goals. So last week we talked about how to set your money goals. Two key things there. Know what the goal is, list out all the things that you want to potentially achieve, whittle them down into 3 things that you want to achieve, and then come up with a figure that you want to achieve in that 12 months. Now, moving on to this week, we've just talked about how to achieve those, or how to plan those money goals. It's carefully looking in a nutshell at your budget and saying, how much do I realistically have spare per month to put towards that goal? And I've broken down in detail a little bit more about that. Next week, we're going to talk about how to make your money goals happen. So we're going to put that into a little bit more detail from what I've covered today. And then after that, we're going to talk about how to be more accountable for your money goals. So I hope that's super helpful. If you're wanting to really get in control of your finances, then do listen to the rest of our podcast, which is the Wealth Accelerator podcast, hosted by myself, Rebecca Robertson, and several lots of guests that come on and talk about lots of different subjects. So enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Accelerate Your Wealth. For further help or to connect with Rebecca directly, please head over to the website www.rebeccarobertson.co.uk. where you can find further information on our planner, book, and how to further maximise your wealth. Our sponsor, Evolution Financial Planning, for regulated advice on pensions, investments, mortgages, insurances on www.evolutionfinancialplanning.co.uk/podcast.